Hello everybody. Over the course of this video, we'll be going over a periodized core training protocol for a cross-country female athlete. First, we will start at the stabilization stage and work through the stabilization endurance phase in order to work on core and lower extremity stability. It is important to note that each of the exercises within this phase require the athlete to execute an abdominal brace or utilize the drawing in maneuver in order to maintain control and tempo through each of the exercises. This will be demonstrated in each video. Exercise 1A of the stabilization endurance phase is the quadruped progression. Over the series of a 6-week period, we will progress through 3 different versions of this exercise. The first version is the quadruped with an arm raise. While maintaining an abdominal brace and digging your toes into the ground, you will raise your arm superiorly while pointing your thumbs upward and squeezing your abs to stabilize during the movement. It is important to keep a tempo here, raising the arm at a tempo of about 4 seconds, squeezing for 2 seconds, and then releasing the motion. The next version of the quadruped exercise is a quadruped with a leg raise. During this version of the quadruped, you will maintain an abdominal brace and utilize the abdominal drawing in maneuver while making sure that you extend your knee joints and hip joints posteriorly. You also want to make sure that you maintain dorsiflexion in the working limb. Executing the tempo here is also important, utilizing a 4-second extension going posteriorly, squeezing at the top for 2 seconds, and then releasing the motion. When you move on to the next leg, it is important not to proceed to the next rep until your toe on the non-working limb is completely fastened to the ground. The final progression of the quadruped exercise is a quadruped with an opposite arm and leg raise. You will combine both movements that you used in priorly used movements of the quadruped. During this exercise, you will maintain the abdominal brace and drawing in maneuver and also control the tempo of 4-2-1. This meaning that you take the time to extend your arm anteriorly and your leg posteriorly in a 4-second time frame, squeeze at the top for 2 seconds, then release the movement. It is important to make sure that you don't alternate movements until your toes on the non-working side are completely fastened to the ground. Exercise 1B of the stabilization endurance phase is a glute bridge. We will maintain the tempo of 4-2-1 during this exercise. To progress the exercise, you can either put your toes upwards to maintain dorsiflexion in your ankle, or have your feet flat on the ground to make it less difficult. You will start with your hips in a flex position, and your knees should be flexed at a 90-degree angle. Once that is achieved, you will extend your hips superiorly, squeeze the glutes at the top of the movement, and then release the motion. The following progression of exercise 1B is a glute bridge with a march. During this version of the exercise, you will exhibit proper glute bridge technique and utilize the 4-2-1 tempo. Rising your hips upward at a range of 4 seconds, you will squeeze your glutes at the top of the movement for 2 seconds while also exhibiting a marching movement. This essentially means that you will use your hip joint to flex back your knees back towards your chest and exhibit a marching position during the hold of the glute bridge. It is also important to make sure you maintain dorsiflexion during this movement to maintain optimal joint angles throughout the entire exercise. Also, making sure you maintain an abdominal brace and the drawing in maneuver is also important for control during this exercise. Exercise 2A of the stabilization endurance phase is a side plank pulse. This exercise will also be progressed as we get to week 5 and 6 of this phase. However, during the first 4 weeks, we'll be doing it with a pulse. Utilizing the 4-2-1 tempo, we will pulse our hips superiorly while squeezing our glutes at the top of the movement for 2 seconds. It's important for you to maintain the abdominal brace during this exercise to make sure you have a strong, compact, stable position at the top of the movement. The next progression of exercise 2A is the side plank with abduction. At this point, we will hold the same position that we get to at the top of the side plank pulse and adduct our hips superiorly. Making sure you control the movement during this exercise is very important, and making sure you hold an abdominal brace will ensure a stable, compact position. Controlling the tempo from 4-2-1 during this exercise is also a great way to increase the difficulty and improve the recruitment of motor units. Exercise 2B is the dead bug. During this exercise, we will maintain our drawing in maneuver by pinching the ball between our arms and our knees. During the exercise, we will extend the opposite arm and opposite leg off the ball at the same time while making sure we maintain the drawing in maneuver to recruit our abs. We will also utilize the 4-2-1 tempo in order to maintain control during the movement. After the stabilization stage, we will then proceed to the strength stage, focusing mainly on the strength endurance phase during this time period. Exercise 1A of the strength endurance phase is called a Russian sit-up. During this exercise, I will utilize band resistance to produce tension to pull my heels out from underneath me during this exercise. In order to move the full range of motion of the sit-up, I must utilize the abdominal drawing in maneuver to pull myself up through the full range of motion. You'll notice that I also keep dorsiflexion during this exercise throughout the entirety of the movement. Exercise 1B of the strength endurance phase is called a reverse crunch. During this exercise, I will maintain dorsiflexion in my ankles and make sure my knees are flexed at a 90-degree angle during the entirety of the exercise. After this, I will flex and extend my hip joint in order to pull my knees back towards my chest and then extend back towards the ground. Controlling the tempo is also important in making sure that I recruit my lower abdominals through the full range of motion. Exercise 2A is a cable anti-rotational press. We will maintain the abdominal drawing in maneuver during this exercise. During the exercise, you will also take the cable and add whatever weight you wish to provide the athlete. The athlete will drop into a hip-hinged or squatted position, take both hands on the cable handle, and press forwards and backwards while controlling the weight back and forth. Exercise 2B is cable stir the pot. Maintaining the same position as you would during the anti-rotational press, you will take the cable, which is the weight stimulus, and stir the pot in both directions, essentially making a circular motion where you control the weight. It is important to make sure that you maintain the abdominal drawing in maneuver during this exercise to ensure control of the movement and making sure everything stays in line. Following the strength stage, the athlete will progress to the power stage, mainly focusing on the power phase during this time period. Exercise 1A is a simple med ball slam. The athlete will keep their abs tight, drop their hips down to the ground, and vigorously slam the ball into the ground as fast as they possibly can. Exercise 1B is a med ball chest pass with a knee drive. Keeping the ball central to the chest and maintaining the abdominal drawing in maneuver, the athlete will assume a staggered stance while leaning into their front foot. When they go to chest pass the ball into the wall, they will vigorously drive the back knee up while moving the ball as fast as possible into the wall to create an explosive step. This is beneficial for recruiting the explosive power of the glutes while also keeping your abs tight to stabilize the motion during a forceful movement. Exercise 2A is a med ball rotational throw with an added lateral bound in. Essentially, during this exercise, the athlete will jump back into their back leg, load their oblique muscles, and explosively throw the ball into the wall. We must exhibit proper forms of rotation during this movement and keep the ball tight to our abs to control the force of the movement. Exercise 2B is a sledgehammer swing. This exercise incorporates vigorous transverse plane movement while also bringing it back to the frontal plane. In this exercise, you will rotate out towards the side that the hammerhead is on, bring the hammerhead over your head slightly, and vigorously bring it down while raking your abs down towards the tire. Keeping your abs tight by using the abdominal drawing in maneuver during this exercise is important for ensuring that the movement is forceful and impactful. Thank you for watching this video on a periodized core training protocol. Throughout this protocol, the athlete will hopefully gain a decent amount of stabilization of the core, while also increasing their endurance and strength and power over the periods of time in each phase.